Okay, thank you. Highfield Resources, Australian listed company, market capitalisation of about Australian dollars 300 million dollars. Our projects are in the north of Spain, in the provinces of Navarra and Aragon, and we have a suite of tenements running about 50 kilometres down the Ebro River basin through Navarra and into Aragon. The project that we are focused on is the Muga Project, and the Muga Project crosses the provincial boundary between Navarra and Aragon, and is shown there in that green circle. I don't know whether I've got a thing here. No, in the green circle there. That's the Muga Project. So I've got 5 points I want to get across here this afternoon, and the first point is that up there in the top left-hand corner, hopefully you can see a town, and that is the town of Pamplona. The town of Pamplona, famous for the bull running, of course, is where all of the executive management team, including myself, are located. There's no other substitute for being on the ground, close to the action, at the coalface, so to speak. Not in Melbourne or in London or Toronto. We're there on the ground in Pamplona, overseeing the development of this business. Point number 2 is that 3 weeks ago, the company received its environmental permit for the Muga Project. The Muga mine, the Muga Project, as I said, crosses the provincial boundary of Aragon and Navarra, and as a consequence, we had to seek our environmental permit from the authorities in Madrid. That was a detailed and very, very comprehensive process. The authorities did a tremendous job, as I might say we did, and we got that permit about 2 weeks ago. The process of securing that permit, there were more than 50 reports that were submitted by various authorities around Navarra, Aragon, and Madrid, all required to input their commentary to the Environmental Ministry. Every single one of those reports were positive. If they weren't positive, we would never have got our environmental permit, and so we're very, very happy to have received that. Having received the environmental permit, we now move into the next phase of permitting, which is mining concession and construction permits, and every single one of the authorities that needs to provide those permits has been involved in the environmental permitting process. So no surprises, no new faces we're talking to, and all supportive of the project. And in those 50-plus entities that I talked about includes town halls, local councils, provincial authorities, etc., etc. We think the subsequent permits will take about 12 months. We're certainly very heavily engaged with all of those parties as we speak right now. And post the final construction permits, there's about a 2-year build to build the Muga mine. So that was point number 2. Point number 3. The Muga mine itself. The Muga mine is a 2-stage development. The first stage to produce 500,000 tonnes of potash, the second stage to produce a further 500,000 tonnes of potash. The first stage is estimated to cost about 342 million euros, and the second stage 199 million euros. We're focused on the first stage, of course, at this point in time. The project itself is a standout project. It's a shallow ore body, only 350 meters below the surface, no aquifer sitting on top of it, so no deep shaft to sink, no aquifer to freeze as you go through the water table. Easy access with twin declines into the ore body. The processing is straightforward, straightforward flotation and crystallization, all proven technology in this commodity space. The project, in the last 6 months, we've put out new and updated resource statements, new and updated reserve statements. We've done an update to the project feasibility and issued those capital cost numbers that I talked about just now, and later on I'll talk about the financial outcomes. We've also signed an MOU with one of the largest Spanish contractors called Acciona to build this project, and they're champing at the bit to get on with the contract formation and to get on the ground. So that was point number 3. The other aspects in terms of the project itself, not only are the technicals of the ore body very robust, the infrastructure in this part of the world, in this part of northern Spain, is incredible. It's outstanding. A lot of European money being pumped into this area. You can see this. We literally have super highways only 4 or 5 kilometers from the mine gate. We've got power facilities again only 4 or 5 kilometers from the mine gate. And I really just very quickly dwell on the ESG type commitments that we make. Here is our 2018 sustainability report, a magnificent document, and just demonstrates that the commitment that the company has to social and environmental requirements and the sort of the standards that we ascribe to and we commit to. And it's because of that those sorts of commitments that we can achieve that environmental permit in a European jurisdiction which has very, very stringent requirements. So all of that, when you put it together, all of those attributes, whether you're talking about the physical ore body or you're talking about the infrastructure, and indeed in terms of the infrastructure, we're only 200 kilometers away from the deep water port of Bilbao, very close to the Atlantic Ocean there. When you put all of that together and turn it into an operating cost outcome, we sit, as you can see, top left-hand corner there, in about the bottom tercile of potash producers around the world. On the left-hand side, the Russians; on the far right, probably the Germans; and in the middle, somewhat are the Canadians. This is the price at the mine gate, our cost to produce FOB cost curve at the mine gate. So that we're a robust project. We're a very credible project, even under those circumstances. But what really makes this project stand out? What makes it different to any other potash development on the planet is our move to the left-hand side here on the bottom corner here, when we can move our net back to the mine gate. Our profit that this mine can generate moves right up to the top of the class. It moves to the top of the class for one specific reason. Point number 4, the reason is our location. As I said, we're only 200 kilometers away from the port of Bilbao, but that's sort of a little bit secondary. Primarily, we're in the center of a highly intensive agricultural region. Navarra, southern Spain, southern Aquitaine region, highly intensive agriculture. We sit on in the center of it. Within 300 kilometers, we can deliver to blenders and off-takers, and even to farmers. We get straight into that market. For others to get into that market, for example, from, as Alexander was talking earlier on, from Canada or Russia, that's big loads, big ships coming across the Atlantic or other parts of other oceans, have to be offloaded, broken into smaller parcels, delivered to the off-takers and the blenders. That costs money. And as a consequence of that, the price differential that you can receive in Northern Europe and this part of the world is about $30 a ton better than FOB Vancouver. So not only are we sitting in the center of that marketplace where we can easily get access and low logistics costs, we actually get a premium as well. We get access to that premium. That really helps to drive that margin curve that I talked about earlier on. But it doesn't stop there. The fact that we are only 200 kilometers away from the port of Bilbao is another tremendous outcome for the project in terms of its financial credibility. We can get into Bilbao, from Bilbao across the Atlantic Ocean into Brazil, only 5,000 nautical miles. If you're coming from Canada, you've got to go 2,000 kilometers across by train to the west coast. You've got to come down the west coast of the USA through the Panama Canal, about 9,000 nautical miles. So much the same for the Russians. So again, we have a very competitive advantage in terms of our logistical position. And as I said, that differentiates us for any other potash project on the planet. We really do stand out. And here's a couple of demand and supply figures. I'll sort of pass over those, but Brazil, a tremendous market, 10 million tons of depth, growing to 11 million tons this year. And Europe, where we are right in the center of that, 7 million tons demand, 4 million tons supply. So there's importation into Europe, and we'll be breaking into that. Point number 5, getting to a close here is a financial position of the company. Just come through the environmental permitting process. We currently have about 30 million euros in the bank, or 50 million Aussie dollars. We have a very strong supporter with EMR Capital, who own about 28% of the project. Long, strong supporters, totally committed to seeing this project through. Aussie Super, those of you who are familiar with the Australian superannuation industry would know how committed they are to, and sticky money that they provide. Aussie Super, 5%. I mentioned the outcomes of the financials earlier on. When we've run the financial numbers, we get about 1.16 NPV8, 1.16 billion euros. We've got an operating cost of $104 per tonne, which is reflected in that previous curve, including a salt byproduct credit. And we generate at full production, i.e. the million tonnes per annum, an EBITDA of over 300 million euros per annum. So a very, very robust financial project. In terms of going forward from here, as I said, we have 50 million Aussie in the bank today. So we're blessed with that. We don't need to be out there rushing to put a financing package together. Mike Norris, the CFO, is here in the audience. Mike is working on that. But we're in a very unusual position where we don't need to be out there securing and putting that in place today. We've got time to work that through. We've got time to work out the best strategy for our shareholders to secure that financing. We previously had, a couple of years ago, 185 million euros of debt credit approved with three major European banks. You'd know them all. And we continue to talk with those banks as well as other banks. And on the equity side, a tremendous amount of interest. And we're seeing a tremendous amount of interest here today and the last couple of days at this conference as a consequence, really, of us getting through the environmental permit. So the takeaways in conclusion: 5-star location. That's really what differentiates us. Yes, it's a great ore body. Yes, it's a robust project. But the location, real estate, you're buying a house, location, 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 and that's what does it for us. Very competitive cost position. Alexander talks about potash earlier on, and every commentator in the world that we've spoken to, and we were in Montreal only 10 days ago at the International Fertilizer Association meeting, talking about a growth rate of 2.5% to 3% year in, year out. I think Alexander showed something a little bit better than that. So a great market to be in. Robust financials I've just talked about. Strong ESG focus, I've mentioned that, and really underpins part of our success in terms of dealing with the government and the local community. The local community support is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it in all of my career in the mining industry, and I've built projects in different parts of the world. The community support is fantastic. We'll deliver a project that will deliver hundreds of jobs. It will deliver tremendous wealth, multiplier effects, and the community has demonstrated its support, and all of the town councils from all of the local towns have been supportive. And one of those earlier pictures was all of the mayors from all of those towns at a meeting with us not so long ago. A qualified team, very strong board. You know some of the names, and Richard Crooks is our chairman. I don't think Richard's in the audience today, but he's been here at the conference. Roger Davey would be known to many of you here. Extremely strong board, and the management team that has built and put together projects in different parts of the world over the last 20 or 30 years. So last point, the award of the positive DIA, that's what they call it in Spain, the Declaración de Impacto Ambiental. We've de-risked the project significantly. We've obviously got to continue with that, with the permits. We've got to put all of the engineering and the project together. But the issuance of the positive environmental permit has moved us into a different paradigm. Thank you very much.